If you're looking for cheap, safe, and reliable MT, make sure you go check out my new sponsor, safenbamt.com. Use code JC2K for 5% off and go build that God Squad you always wanted. Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, I am going to be doing part 1 of ranking every single Invincible card in the game from worst to best. In this video, I will be ranking the 30 worst Invincible cards in the game. So this will be, some of these cards are very solid still, some of them not so much, but I will be starting at the worst Invincible card in the game, in my personal opinion, and then going to the 26th best, and then tomorrow I will be uploading the top 25 Invincible cards and ranking those from 25 to number 1. Before we hop into the video, if you haven't, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure to go check out on Twitter. I just quote retweeted a tweet from Cobra Phenom. We're partnering to give away a at least two copies actually, of NBA 2K22 cross-gen, so make sure to go check out that tweet and follow the steps on that tweet to be entered if you're wanting a chance to win 2K22. I will leave I leave a link to my Twitter in the description, so make sure to go check that out as well. But without further ado, let's hop into it and take a look at some of the worst Invincible cards in the game to start with, but then we will get on to some much better ones, and then tomorrow we'll get to the really good ones. But I think the worst Invincible card in the game is probably Invincible Isaiah Thomas. He is the 55th and last Invincible card in the game. 5'9", 6'1" wingspan, 185 pounds. He's got hot spots everywhere, 65 hops. Badge wise, he's very solid. Gold rim protector holds him back. The real issue about Isaiah Thomas is, there's a couple of them. One of them is 5'9". He's got a tiny player build. He's just a small player in general, so that really is a limitation to him. And I think that's one of those things that prevents him from being even usable. I've seen people use this card, but if anytime I go up against Isaiah Thomas, or really especially these first like 10 or 15 Invincibles, I know it's pretty much a free win. And I think that, that's no surprise. His SIGs, he's got a decent-ish jump shot, but he's short. It's not a great jumper. He doesn't even have the Pro 2. He can't curry slide. He's got the Pro 3, which is not good. Pro 3 behind the back is fine, but this card stinks. He's a bad card. I think that's, I think y'all already knew that, in all honesty. But yeah, Isaiah Thomas is not a good card. He is the worst Invincible card in the game. This card's terrible. You should never run this card in any situation. He's an awful, awful card. At number 54, we have Allen Iverson, another horrendous Invincible card. 6'3" wingspan, 165 pounds, hot spots everywhere, 61 hops. Doesn't come with rim protector or post move lockdown at all. Comes a steady shooter. He's short. Jumper's better than Isaiah Thomas's, but I still don't love it with this release 28 upper. Isn't terrible, but it's not great. The jumper's okay. Pro 2 size if he can curry slide. He's got the Pro 2 between the legs, Pro 3 behind the back. He's just incredibly small. His animations stink. Just a terrible card. This card should not be run in anybody's lineup. If you have this card, get rid of him right now, please. Next card on this list, we have Damian Lillard, another guy who I do not recommend running at all. 6'2" with 6'7" wingspan, so he's a little bit bigger than the other guys, but he's hot spots everywhere. 61 hops. Comes a steady shooter again. You don't like to see that. Doesn't have rim protector at all. Stat wise, all these cards are great, but just Damian Lillard release, not that great of a release in my personal opinion. It's kind of hard to green. Pro 2 size up, at least he can curry size. Got the Pro 3 behind the back, but again, he's another horrendous card. Way too small to be run with success, and his jump shot is not all that good. And that is the same with another guy on this list, Russell Westbrook. He's terrible. 6'3" with 6'7" wingspan. The reason I have him higher than Dame is because he's a little bit bigger, and I think slashing wise he's a little bit better. That being said, he also has steady shooter, only gold rim protector. He's much too small to be run effectively. The Russell Westbrook release, it's not completely awful, but it's, again, not a great release at all. He can curry slide. He's got the Pro 3 behind the back, but just yet another horrendous option at this point in the year. Not a guy that I recommend running if you want to have any success in MyTEAM Unlimited or even in Triple Threat Online, in all honesty. And that's the same thing with another guy on this list. The next guy, Derrick Rose. Just not a good card. 6'3" with 6'8" wingspan. He's a little bit bigger than Russ, but hotspots, he's got hotspots everywhere. Again, has the steady shooter badge, which you don't like to see. Doesn't come with rim protector at all. Jump shot, it's probably, I don't hate the Derrick Rose release, but it's, again, not the easiest release to green and not the quickest release. Pro 2 size, if he can curry side, he's got the Pro 3 behind the back. But again, yet another card who's just small, has a bad player build, not a good defensive animations, just not a good card at all. Next card on this list is James Harden, who is 6'5" with a 6'10" wingspan, so he's got a little bit more size. Hotspots everywhere as well, but he has the steady shooter badge. And the thing is, he only comes with gold rim protector, and I don't like Harden's release. I just don't think the James Harden release is very good this year. It's a little bit too slow. It's relatively easy to green, but it's a little bit too slow. He's undersized. Sigs-wise, he's good, but he's just another guy who's small, not a good jump shot. He's missing the badges. I don't think his defense animations are good at all. Just not a good card at all. At number 48, I believe, is Dennis Rodman. This Rodman card is 6'7" with 6'10" wingspan. Hotspots everywhere, 67 hops. Doesn't come with steady shooter, and defensively he's a good card, but the thing is his release is terrible. Set shot 17 is awful. He's small for the small forward position, and definitely small for the power forward position at this point in the year. Doesn't have the Pro 2. He's got the Pro 3, which is gross. Size-wise, he's much better than the other Invincible cards on this list, but his sigs stink. His jumper stinks. He doesn't really move well on the offensive end of the court. Just not a good card on that end at all, and for that reason he can't be any higher than number 48 in my personal opinion. At number 47, we have Jerry West, who's not quite as bad. He's got a decent wingspan at 6'9", only 6'2" though. He's short, obviously. Hotspots everywhere, but unfortunately he's just, I mean, he's got better badges. He's got the Hall of Fame rim protector and stuff like that. Statistically he's great, and the Jerry West release is okay. If y'all have used Jerry West and you got this card, even if you use the diamond early in the year, you know this release is not completely horrible, but he's just so undersized still. I just don't think that he's a particularly usable card, and that's just the case with a lot of these guys. They're so small and their releases aren't good enough to make them usable, and it just makes them very, very hard to use with any sort of success. Next on this list, we have Oscar Robertson, another guy, 6'5" with a 6'8" wingspan, doesn't have a big player build, hotspots everywhere, but 62 hoffs, comes a steady shooter, only gold handles for days, only gold rim protector. He's missing badges. The Oscar Robertson release is actually a good release. I do like this release, I will say that. It's a solid release. I think it's relatively good to 3-hunt with. It's pretty easy to green, but the steady shooter doesn't help him. He's small again. He's missing some key badges. Only having gold handles for days on an Invincible card at the point guard position is just a massive, massive disadvantage, and it prevents him from being even usable in my opinion. Next guy on this list, again, Tim Duncan. He's got good size. He's 6'11" with 7'2" wingspan, but he doesn't have the size to compete with the really tall giants in this game. And then badge wise, he's missing ankle breaker, handles for days, stop and go. He's missing some badges that you'd like to see on Hall of Fame, and his jump shot stinks. Tim Duncan release on very quick is not a very quick release at all. It's a slow release. It's not super easy to green. It's not super consistent in terms of timing. Sigs wise, he's good, but his release stinks. He's missing some playmaking badges, and he's a little bit undersized at this point in the game, especially at that center position. I don't feel like he's quite good enough defensively in his animations to be good on the defensive end of the court either. Now, these next few guys, like Anthony Edwards, who's next on this list, are not quite as bad. We get to the point of some guys who are slightly better cards. He's 6'5" with a 6'9" wingspan. I feel like he does have a decent player, but he's got some good tall hair, which helps. Hotspots everywhere, 65 hoffs. Doesn't come with steady. Comes with Hall of Fame rim. He's got that going for him, but his jumper's mediocre at best. This jump shot 80 is not the easiest release to green. It's not super quick either. It's not terrible. Pro 2 size up, Pro 3 behind the back. Again, just not a very good card at this point in the year. He's undersized. He can't play the point guard position. He's a shooting guard, small forward. Just not that great of a card. Not as bad as the other guys in this list, but still not a great option. Next on the list, we have Kevin Garnett, who I think is slightly better than a Tim Duncan, but still not very good. The one thing I will say about Kevin Garnett is I've played a couple guys with him who moved pretty well with him and used the card effectively, and I think if you are in the right hands, this card can still be usable, but he's not particularly great. 6'11" with 7'2" wingspan. He's got the same size as Tim Duncan. He's missing a lot of those playmaking badges still, like bailout. Well, not a lot of actually key playmaking badges, but he doesn't have bailout. His jump shot stinks. Set shot 14 is not a jump shot that I've liked at all this year. Most people don't like it. It's the same jump shot that Jokic had for a while. Isaac Bonga has this jump shot. It's just not very good. It's just not easy to green at all. Pro 2 size up. Doesn't have the Pro 3 behind the back, which isn't great either. But the thing is, his jump shot is very, very hard to green, and it's not consistent. He steps in from the corners, and defensively, I don't feel like he's as good as his stats and badges say he is. And also as a slasher, I just don't feel like this card is particularly incredible. He's not completely awful, but again, not a good option, especially as Invincible cards go. Next on the list, we have Dwight Howard, who I think is, again, so very similar to Kevin Garnett. I think they could be flip-flops. The thing about Dwight is I will say he is better defensively than Kevin Garnett, but badge-wise, again, missing ankle breaker, missing handles for days on Hoff. Dwight Howard release on very quick is, again, not a very fast release. It's kind of slow. It's relatively easy enough to green, but it's kind of slow. He's a little bit short. He doesn't have a huge player build. Pro 2 size up, Pro 3 behind the back. He's got the dribble sigs, but again, just not a great card. Not a guy that I would recommend running very much. After those guys, we start getting into the realm of decent-ish cards. A guy like Ray Allen, who's not terrible. He's runnable, 6'5" with 6'8" wingspan, still a little bit undersized at the shooting guard position, but he does have hotspots everywhere. He's got some good badges. Doesn't have Hall of Fame rim protector still, but he does have the Ray Allen release, which is a very good release. If y'all have used this release, especially on next gen, it's incredible, but even on current gen, the Ray Allen release is really good. It's very easy to green. It's quick. It's easy to get off. It's good to 3-hunt with. He's got good dribble sigs. He's a very solid card. Not a great option still, just too undersized, I think, to be run with a ton of success, but we're starting to get to the point of guys who are slightly better on both ends of the court, or at least show you something a little bit better in some capacity on the court. Next on the list is Vince Carter, who is, again, I think this card's actually decent, but he's just still kind of small, 6'6", without a huge player build, hotspots everywhere, 65 Hoffs, doesn't have Hall of Fame rim protector. Jump shot wise, I never really liked Vince Carter's jumper this year. I find it hard to green and inconsistent. I was never good with it, even on his early cards. Pro 2 size up, Pro 3 behind the back. I just never got good with Vince Carter's release this year, and I think that holds him back, as well as his lack of size. As a slasher, he's great. Defensively, he's not very good. He's not completely awful, but just not a great card at all. Next today, we have Scotty Pippen, who is actually a very solid option at the 2, if not for his release. Otherwise, he's very good. He's 6'8" with a 7'3" wingspan. He's great on the defensive end of the court. He's got really good length. Hotspots everywhere, 65 Hoffs. Defensively, he's incredible, like I say. Even on the offensive end, as a slasher, he's really good. But he has jump shot 30, which is kind of a janky release. It's baited. It's a little bit slow. It's decently easy enough to green. He's got the Pro 2 size of being Curry slide, and he's got the Pro 3 behind the back. But his jump shot is just a little bit too slow to be used with a lot of success, I feel like, at this point in the game. Coming in at number, I believe, 39 is where we are right now, we have Carmelo Anthony. And Carmelo is another guy who's a solid enough card, but he has a couple things that hold him back from being really successful. He's 6'8", he's got a big player build, he's got hotspots everywhere. He comes a steady shooter, unfortunately, which I don't like. Also only has gold rim protector, so those two things don't help him. And also his jump shot, the Carmelo jumper, it's quick, it's easy enough to green, and it's smooth, but the thing is, he steps in from the corners a lot. He also steps in from the hashes. He steps in on the line a lot and shoots a lot of long twos, which is something that you really don't like to see, because you want your guys spotting up for 3 and shooting corner threes. And that makes him tough to use, especially in a competitive setting, because people will just sag off of him and make you take long mid-ranges with Carmelo, which is just not a high percentage shot, not the type of shot that you want to be taking with a lot of success, and that holds him back from being higher on this list, despite the fact that he does have a good player build. At number 38, we have Kobe Bryant, and as much as I would love to hype up this Kobe card, I just think that he's a little bit limited. He's only 6'6". He doesn't have a super tall player build. His jump shot is great. Badge-wise, he's solid. Only has gold rim protector, rebound chaser, and post-move lockdown, though. Doesn't come a steady shooter, thankfully, and the Kobe jumper on very quick is definitely a good jumper. I do like this jump shot a lot, but Pro 2 size up, Pro 3 behind the back, while nice, I just don't think it makes up for the fact that he's just a little bit short. And I think the fact that he's short limits him on the offensive end of the court, prevents you from being able to use this card with a ton of success in a competitive setting. But again, a solid enough card, well-rounded, definitely a good option on both ends of the court. And I think this Kobe card is really still not a bad card. And at this point, we're at guys who are not bad cards. Michael Jordan, Invincible, another guy who's not a bad card at all. Same size as Kobe. I'd say he's a little bit bigger player build. I think he's a little bit better on the defensive end of the court. He's got some better badges. Not missing any key badges on this card, but his jump shot isn't great. It's easy to green. It's just a little bit slow. He's got good dribble sigs. He's just a little bit undersized. And again, the size is so important for this game at this point in the year. And I think MJ just doesn't quite have the size to be used at an elite high level. Next on the list, we have Klay Thompson, who the thing that Klay has over some of these other guys is the fact that he does have a bigger player build, and I feel like defensively he competes a little bit better, even though he is only listed at 6'6" as well. I will say he does look bigger than those guys on the defensive end of the court, and that helps him. I think he rebounds a little bit better than them as well. Hotspots everywhere, 61 Hoffs. I like his jump shot a lot. Only has gold rim protector, unfortunately, but Klay Thompson release on very quick is super easy to green and consistent. It's just not the fastest release, but has the Pro 2 size up,
Pro 2 between the legs, can curry slide, and Pro 3 behind the back. Very solid option on both ends of the court. I do think Clay is actually a very decent card at this point in the year. I just think there are better options still on this list. Next on the list, we have Manu Ginobili. Manu is another guy who thankfully can play the point guard position at 6'6". That's where you're probably going to run this card. 6'9" wingspan. He's very similar to Clay. The thing is, he doesn't come with rim protector at all, which definitely hurts him. But one of the things that he does have is he has the Dante Extreme release on very quick, which is something that is really, really nice. Most cards don't have that. It's one of the best releases in the game. Pro 2 size up, Pro 3 behind the back as well. Can curry slide. He's got the really nice jump shot. As a 300, this card is elite. He struggles on the defensive end still because of his lack of size. I don't think he's a great rebounder. He doesn't have a huge player build, but he is a decent-ish option, not a terrible card at this point in the year. At number 34, we have Magic Johnson, who, despite the fact that he is really tall and plays the point guard position, is still low on this list because of his jump shot. 6'9" with 7-foot wingspan, hotspots everywhere. He has every single badge in the game except for steady shooter. He's not missing any important Hall of Fame badges, but his jump shot is slow. Magic's jumper is slow. If you've used him at any point this year, you know how slow this jump shot is, and it's hard to get off. It's not the easiest to green either, and that is what holds him back from being much higher on this list. If Magic had a great release, I think he'd be a top card in the game. Unfortunately, he doesn't. Great slasher, solid defender, just doesn't have the size necessary, or not the size, doesn't have the jump shot necessary to really be on that next level as a card. At number 33, we have Grant Hill, who I actually think is one of the best, maybe the best card on this list so far. Well, obviously I think he is because he's the highest ranked, but he's 6'8" with a 6'11" wingspan, so he's got good size at the shooting guard position. Hotspots everywhere, 67 Hoffs, isn't really missing any important Hall of Fame badges, doesn't come with steady shooter. The thing is, he's got jump shot 1, which while I think it's better than Scotty Pippen's, and I think that's why I definitely have him higher than Scotty Pippen, still is not a great release. It's not super easy to green, it's not super fast, it's kind of herky-jerky, has a little bit of a load up, it seems like. Pro 2 size up, Pro 2 between the legs, can curry slide, and Pro 3 behind the back. He's great, obviously. The jumper's just not quite good enough to push him to that next level. But besides that, this Grant Hill is actually a very, very solid all-around card. I think people can run this card even in a competitive setting and have success with him. And I think that's true for every other card in this list, including Larry Bird. Larry Bird, 6'9" with 7-foot wingspan, hotspots everywhere, 220 pounds, 65 Hoffs, not missing a single important Hall of Fame badge. Sorry. Larry Bird release on very quick is a solid release. It's not hard to green. I don't feel like it's not the easiest to green, but it's quick. It's easy to get off. It's relatively good to green. Pro 2 sides if he can curry slide because at 6'9", 220, he's right at that threshold to curry slide, but he can still. Pro 3 behind the back. Solid option. I don't think his defensive animations or slashing animations are quite where they need to be to put him on that next elite level, but he is definitely a very, very good option. Coming in at number 31, we have Julius Irving, who is another really solid all-around card, the level 40 reward for this season, 6'6" with a 6'11" wingspan. He is probably the third shortest player left on this list, something like that. But he does have a tall player build. He's got the afro, the tall hair, which helps him look a couple inches taller than he is. 70 Hoffs as well. Only gold badge he has is tight handles. Doesn't miss any badges at all. The Rudy Gay release on very quick is also super good. I really do like the Rudy Gay release a ton. It's not the easiest to green, but it's pretty easy to green. It's very quick, very easy to get off, good to 300 with. He's got great slashing animations. He plays better defense than his height would tell you, especially because he's got a solid player build. I think this Julius Irving card is a very solid card who can be run with success in really any sort of setting. At number 30, we have Nikola Jokic. And Jokic is decent on current gen. He's 7 foot with 7'3" wingspan at the point guard position, which is really one of the huge values to him is how big he is. Defensive animation wise, he struggles, but he has 69 Hoffs, doesn't have steady shooter. None of the gold badges he has are necessary badges on Hoff at all. Jump shot 38 is solid. I don't like his upper. I think it's weird. It's kind of a catapult upper, but his jump shot 38 base is very, very solid. Pro 2 size up, Pro 3 behind the back. Very decent all-around card. I think Jokic is still good at this power at the point guard position, despite the fact that he is incredibly expensive to lock in. And I don't recommend getting this Jokic card at all, but if you do have him, he is a solid option who you can still run and have some success with. Coming in at number 29, we have Invincible Zion. Zion is 6'6" with 6'10" wingspan. He's got a big player build. He looks tall, and he's very, very wide. And that's the huge thing for him running him at the small forward position is he's very wide, which I think helps him a lot on the defensive end of the court. He also rebounds incredibly for a 6'6" player. Best rebounder at that height or lower in the game. Badge-wise, again, not missing any important Hall of Fame badges. He comes incredibly complete. Kobe release on very quick with a nice upper. Just a good all-around card. He's a bigger, wider Kobe Bryant, and I feel like that helps him a lot on the defensive end of the court. Also has incredible slashing animations. Really good all-around card, just too undersized to be any higher on this list, but still a very, very solid option who I really do like in NBA 2K21 MyTEAM. At number 28, we have 3 more guys in this episode of, or in this part of this video. We have Hakeem Olajuwon. And Hakeem is 7 foot with a 7'3" wingspan, better at the power forward position than the center position at this point, in my opinion, just because of his lack of height beyond 7 foot, but he's got a decent player build. Hotspots everywhere, 65 hoffs. Badge-wise, he comes very good, only missing gold handles for, or Hall of Fame handles for days. Set shot 18, while it's still a set shot, is not completely terrible. It's just a little bit slow, but I feel like it's easy enough to green, and he's got good size. He's very good defensively. He's a good slasher. He's got great dribble sticks. Really good option. The best big we've seen so far. Still kind of limited on both ends of the court, though, or on the offensive end of the court especially. And then at number 27, we have Wilt Chamberlain, who I have above Hakeem because he's better defensively. Wilt is an incredible defensive power forward or center, one of the best options in the game. 7 foot 1 with an 8 foot wingspan, hotspots everywhere, 64 hoffs. Only badges he's missing is ankle breaker and handles for days in terms of important badges. That being said, he's got set shot 17, unfortunately, which just like Dennis Rodman is a terrible release. Not a good release at all. It's greenable, but I just do not like it at all. It's very baited and slow as well. Pro 2 size up, Pro 3 behind the back. He's not the worst card in the game by any means. Definitely a solid center option. I do have him over Hakeem because he's incredible defensively and as a slasher, but on the offensive end of the court, I think as a shooter especially, he's very limited, and that's why I can't have him any higher than number 27. And then at number 26, we have Shaquille O'Neal, who I think is very similar to Wilt, not quite as good on the defensive end of the court, but he's still 7'1". He's got a 7'7" wingspan. Very wide, big player build. Y'all know that about Shaq. Hotspots everywhere in 65 hoffs, only missing ankle breaker as an important Hall of Fame badge. Danilo Gallinari base is not a bad release, but with his upper, it looks very weird. It's very hard to time is what I've seen. People struggle to green with this release. I pretty much leave them open, especially in a competitive setting with Shaq, because he's very hard to shoot with, but he's got great dribble sticks. Defensively, he's great, and his release is much quicker than a guy like Wilt, which is why I put him over Wilt, despite the fact that I don't particularly love the jumper. It's much easier to get off, and I think that's important, especially on Unlimited, to being able to use this guy with success. And I think Shaq can still be used with a lot of success. Still a very, very solid option, especially at the power forward position. Just not quite good enough to crack the 25. The top 25, I should say. But that is the 30 worst Invincible cards in the game. The top 25 guys are all very good cards. A few of these guys as well, these last like 5 or 10 especially, are solid enough and can be used in a competitive setting with success, but they still have certain things, whether it's their size, their animations, their jump shot, missing badges, certain things like that that hold them back. But that being said, I do think some of these cards are really good. Some of these guys, not so much, especially toward the beginning of the list, were absolutely terrible. But this is part 1 of ranking every single Invincible card in the game. I hope y'all did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon. I appreciate y'all. Peace.